Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Be Fearless podcast. And today I have your amazing guest. But before I introduce you to our amazing guest, let me say thank you. Thank you to Slovenia who picked up the podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening. My people in California, thank you for rocking the episodes as well in the state. And also to the state of Florida and Georgia, thank you so much for your support. It means the world to me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have this banner on, and I don't know why I already spoiled. I spoiled it, but I took it off. Don't worry. Let me introduce you. Anyway, let me introduce you to our amazing guest today. He is a father of four children, native from the great state of Texas. Let me tell you that. Okay. He's a coach, a proud Army spouse, and a previous special education teacher. Later in his career, he ventured into real estate business in creating a warm environment for his clients. Let's welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Blake Sammons. Welcome, Blake.
Hi, thank you. That was such
Hi.
a great introduction. I will have to pay you later for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, for being here with our audience. And so the people that doesn't know who Blake Sammons is, who was Blake Sammons growing up and what was his dream?
Oh wow, man, what a great question. I was a very misunderstood kid. I was a kid, and I used to tell this to all of my classes and the teacher. I used to have I have ADHD and dyslexia, so I think a lot of people underestimated me. A lot of people didn't bet on me, and a lot of people told me that I couldn't do it. And so, growing up, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I always kind of fought for the underdog, and I always kind of really pushed to celebrate my differences and be the person that you are. And so it, oddly enough, it led me to education to really support those same type of kids that I was. And then eventually I stepped away from education and found my way to real estate. And here I am doing exactly the same things that I was trying to help. So that was probably a longer winded question or answer than you were asking for. But yeah, ultimately, I think I was misunderstood and not bet on, and they counted me out. So yeah.
But I think that a lot of people um, a lot of people tend to misunderstand others because they're so centered in themselves, right? Like they're focused on themselves, and then they just like thinking one way, and they don't put themselves in other people's shoes. Um, but I guess that's why or what inspired you to become a special needs teacher, right?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I didn't want people to feel like I felt, kids, I should say, students. And so,
Awesome.
yeah.
And for how long you were a teacher?
9 years. 9 years. Yeah. When my wife was in the Army, we bounced around a lot. So it meant that I always had a job waiting for me no matter where we went. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I retired from the military 24 after 24 years of service. So
oh,
yeah,
nice.
army too. Yeah,
Yes. Look at
yeah.
these strong women I'm around.
Yeah. So thank you also for your service. A lot of people don't realize that the spouse also serve our country by supporting the soldiers. So thank you so much for all the support that you've given her, and thank her for the service as
Yeah.
well. Um, Okay, so you did that for 9 years
Mhm.
and inspire all these kids to, be the better version of themselves and don't, listen to what people say and think or do to them, and just focus on develop themselves. Um, and then what happened?
As far as my time in education, you mean?
Yes.
The transition.
Yeah.
So my wife and I wanted to have more kids, and that was the linchpin. Ultimately, is they pay like $11 in education, so I was just like, if we want to have more kids, I got to find a better opportunity. So I had always wanted to go into real estate, always, and I made the leap into real estate, and I was just, I have a master's degree in education, and I was studying to become a principal, and I was on the right track to go back to be a principal. So I was like, surely I can sell a house. Well, when I left my career and I as the Vikings say, like I burned the ship, like I knew that I was not going to come back. Like I had to be successful. And my first months in real estate, I could not have been more wrong. I fell flat on my face. I didn't sell one house, and I did not know what I was going to do. And I had a job opportunity present itself to me to come back to education. And my wife said, "No, like you're not going. Like you're so close. Just stick it out." And I did. I sold my first house 1 month later, and then something clicked. And then I sold 9 houses in the next 5 months.
Awesome. That's
So
fantastic.
that was my journey. And it all came back to having more kids. And, I'm now proud to say and look back that, I made the jump, we did the leap, and we had our 4th kid. And now we're stopping. Now we're done. We're done. We'll go forward.
I was going to ask you, are you planning to have more kids?
No,
That
I
question
saw
is
a
out of the
guy,
way.
he made sure no more.
But that's fantastic. I think that gave you the flexibility. A lot of people is looking for that, for having the flexibility to kind of like have um, that ability to spend more time with their kids, with their families at their own terms.
Yeah.
So what is, now that we're talking real estate,
Yeah.
what do you like the most from the real estate?
Sure. And while we're there, I should say for anybody who's listening, like having flexibility does not mean you get to not work. Like it means you
Exactly.
have to time block and work harder in the times where they're going to be at school. So that way you can flex
Yes.
the time when they're not at school and spend that time that you want. So
Yes.
Don't misinterpret me and think that it's just sunshine and roses. Then all I do is play with my kids all day and then sell a bunch of houses. That's not right. So anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to digress, but I just felt like it should go be.
No, but I love that you actually underscore that, because yes, that is completely true. Being an entrepreneur, being a real estate is really demanding, and you have to be good
Yeah,
on, or develop the skill of time management in order to be
exactly.
successful. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. What was the question you asked me about real estate? Though, what were you saying?
So what do you like the most from the real estate?
What I like the most is I guess going back to kind of the first question you asked me is that there's not one right way to sell real estate. So, the way that you sell real estate and the way that I sell real estate is entirely different, and neither one of us is wrong or right as long as the clients are happy. The thing that I like the most is I can be 100% myself, and people enjoy that. So like my brand that I built and the thing that I provide to my clients is I try to provide a very fun and stress-free atmosphere for real estate. And then I accompany that with a lot of education and guidance. And so like, even right now, like nobody can see me, but like right now, what am I wearing right now?
Your Hawaiian shirt.
I'm wearing the Aloha shirt. And like, I literally wear these every time that I'm doing real estate activities, because I want people to have the sensation that like, when you talk to somebody in a shirt like this, the vibe is already set and the mood is set that like, this is going to be an easy conversation to have. And so what I like about real estate is like somebody who wants to wear the nicest possible suit available. They're not wrong, but you have to do what is most genuine and authentic to yourself and just provide a different service from the next person, which is what makes you stand out. And so for me, it's all about allowing the opportunity to be different.
That's fantastic. I love it. And you definitely stand out with that shirt. Let me
Stop.
tell you.
And
Okay, so we already noted, right, that working in real estate is something that is not a piece of cake. It's definitely hard, right? To
correct.
build that network, to gain your clients' trust. It's definitely a lot of work, but it's so rewarding when you get to help people and see their smiles in their faces when they get to get that key, or in that day when they go to closing. Because it's not always about the money. It's also about how people feel.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. Let me pick your brain here. For, let's say, the audience out there, the people that is already in real estate, what things you say have helped you, what approaches you have implemented, or tactic or strategies, whatever you want to, methods, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
you have implemented that help you the most to make this connection with your clients,
Oh,
besides the how aloha shirt.
yeah. Besides, I mean, yeah. Besides that one factor, yeah. So communication, understanding communication, and when I say that, I speak from the precedence of I have a minor degree in mass comm, so mass communications. So I'm not saying understand communication, but understand how you communicate. So for those of you who are not familiar with something called the DISC assessment, I would highly recommend that you get a DISC assessment. And what that is it will tell you how you send communication and how you like to receive it. So, for example, I'm a high S and an I. I'm sorry, I'm a high I and an S. So that means that I like to talk. I'm long-winded and I'm very informational. And then my S is very supportive. So I like to provide people with a lot of support to make sure that they feel comfortable. So I know how the way I communicate. Now that I know how I communicate, I need to be able to adapt to the way that other people also communicate and give them information. So if I gave one piece of information and say, understand, go take the assessment, understand what your superpower is. If it's a D, an I, an S, or a C, how to utilize your superpower, but then also how to talk to somebody who is the opposite of what you are. Because when I talk to somebody who's a D, I have to put on a lot of mental body armor to talk to someone who's a D. Someone who's a D is very short, very succinct, to the point, not long-winded, doesn't like to go off on tangents. And so I have to really coach myself to talk with a D, or to do a listing presentation with a D. So I would say, number one, understand how you communicate. And number two, understand how other people communicate and try to communicate in the way that they like. And if you do that, you'll find that you will be supportive to what their needs are. They'll be more receptive, and you will accidentally fulfill way more boxes than you realize. The other thing that I would say is there is a book called Never Split the Difference, and it's by Chris Voss. And it is
Amazing book.
what I would call like the Bible to my real estate experience. And I would be lying if I didn't say that I've listened to it multiple times, because I'm an audiobook guy. Like I said, I have ADHD, so like I have a short attention span, and I like to listen to it. And I can't tell you how many little tips I've picked up just about the art of communication. And ultimately, I use that for negotiation and talking to other agents, but I also use it just with talking to clients. So I would say understand communication, understand the way people like to communicate, and then start to create a new frame of reference around that. Communication is a skill. It is an art. And Chris Voss will teach you how to do that.
Yes, I love that book, by the way. I have read it twice.
Yeah.
I definitely need
Very good
to
book.
do like a couple runs more on that one, because it's definitely very helpful. And I love that you mentioned the DISC assessment. I love that. I have done it multiple times already. I am a high D and I.
Mm-hmm.
I have my S and C are very level, but
Yep.
my D and my I like up there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but it's very important. I love that you said that, because it's very important also to know how you communicate in order to be able to perceive how you can perceive with other people.
Yep.
When we just go by the flow and just, oh, let me just like talk to this person without even assessing them a little bit before,
Oh
or
yeah.
knowing
And
how you can come across.
yeah. And I'm
Yeah, it
very
can
upfront with
backfire.
it too. I'm like, when I meet with new clients, I literally show them the disc spectrum and scale. And I ask them, where do you sit? Where do you fall on the disc scale right here? Like, tell
That's
me.
awesome.
And I just straight up ask them, and they'll tell me I'm a D. And I'm like, okay, I need to be short, quick, and to the point. Right? If they're
Exactly.
an I, then I'm like, oh, when we walk into a house, you're like an I, you're like, oh, does this feel like the right house? So like I'm out in the open with that, and I bring it to my listing presentation, I bring it to my buyer presentation, and I just straight up ask my clients, like, what are you? And if they don't know what it is, it's an opportunity for me to do what I love best, which is educate them on what it is.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. That's a great tip, actually. I wouldn't like I would assess them because I like to meet before we get into signing anything. So I
Yep.
have an idea of what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah.
Um, and then while I, kind of like having conversation, trying to, get a sense of who they are, where they come from, what their, their needs, their dreams, then I can see a little bit of the personality and kind of like, okay, well, this person. But I love that you actually go straight forward and ask them, where do you place yourself?
Yeah.
I think that's a better
Great
approach
to do
too.
it. And if I'm doing with a couple, I have like a social experiment. Well, I'll say like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, like, and I'll talk to Miss Seller and I say, hey, Mrs. Seller, this is the disc profile. Where do you think that your husband sits? And it's a great icebreaker because then they will start laughing because she'll be like, oh, well, he's a D at work, but he's actually an I. And I'm like, ooh, like you just filled the beans for me. And I'm like, is that right? And then he's like, well, yeah, and then he'll start talking more and the armor just comes off. And then I'm like,
That's
okay, Mr.
awesome.
Stellar, like, what about you? Well, she is actually more of an S. And I'm like, great. All right. I know that he's really an I, but has a little D and she's an S. So now I know they like to talk, they like information, they're quick and to the point, but they also need a lot of support. Now
Yes.
I can cater my entire list presentation to that right there.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And that also show how you also become a great coach because you also do coaching
I
with
do.
your wife.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell us about that adventure.
Sure. Fortunately, I was very fortunate enough to hire my best friend, Mandy Sammons, and she she used to be an occupational therapist in the Army, and then she was a professor for the medical university here in South Carolina. And occupational therapy is built on writing goals for a lot of people, and they work a lot with mindfulness and wellness and holistic approach to different goals and things that you hit. And as a special education teacher, sometimes we work on goals that are so small, I mean, minuscule, and we celebrate those tiny goals. So when I got into real estate, I found myself quickly going back to educational real estate to help other agents who were like me, who were struggling and had that desire to win. And so I started coaching those type of agents, and I got my coaching certification through Success Coaching. And my wife started hearing me doing some of the coaching, and she said, I had this idea I want to pitch to you. I would love to, make a coaching company, and we can be totally different in the sense that we will have a professional coaching company with a holistic approach. And so what makes us really unique is if you've ever been to real estate coaching, it's very accountability based. Like, Dagmar, like what are your goals for this year? How many sales do you want to make? How many people do you have in your pipeline? How many calls do you make every day? Okay, let's increase that by X%. We'll meet next week and let's see how you did. Right? Like that's typically what real estate coaching is. What we created and what's really different is we created a holistic approach. So we dive into the why behind everything. And so we have a baseline where we will take our coaching clients and we'll say, we need you to fill this out. And it's a scale of 1 to 10 on 10 different sections. And only one of those sections has to do with business. And so the mentality behind it is like, if we're coaching you and helping you on your fitness, your nutrition, your communication, your love for yourself, your friendships, your relationships, your money, your finances, all these different categories, that you will truly be happy, right? Mm-hmm. Because I've coached real estate agents who are north of $20 million agent a year. And I can tell you right now that their work to life balance is completely misaligned. So we focus on coaching the whole agent and discovering why we're not hitting goals by digging deep and uncovering them and then working on a tiny level and growing upward. So our company is called Resilient Mindset. And one of the first things that we do is we do a radical self-awareness assessment with a DISC profile. And then we also do an emotional intelligence assessment. And that is probably one of the most important things that you can do. So that's what we have done. And we've had a lot of success with it. And I will say it's either for you or it's not for you. Nobody's like, yeah, it's okay. They either love it or they're like, they're like, I'm more accountability based. Got it. Totally get it.
Awesome. That's fantastic. That is an amazing program that you guys have created. For how long have you been working as a coach, or
Uh,
or the company has been established?
Yeah, so the Resilient Mindset company has been we're coming up on our first birthday. So like it is yeah,
Congratulations!
thank you. So it's it's growing well. I should say that my wife is also getting her MBA simultaneously. So like we're
Hold
on
on, hold on, hold on.
yes, yeah.
Took a second there. I was thinking, but I was like, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
That
So
definitely deserve a
I
round of
know, I
applause.
know. Thank you to the VA Bill. Yeah, she's getting her MBA and she's supporting me in real estate, and she's running the coaching company. So I run the real estate company. She runs the coaching company, and then we both support each other. So
That's awesome. That's
that's kind of the
fantastic. Yes.
that. But yeah, so we'll be a year here in May. But I've been coaching since December of 22.
Wow. That's great. Yay, congratulations.
Thank
I,
you.
I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It's a lot of things to build. I mean, it's similar to real estate. You have the ups and the downs and everything in
Yeah.
between.
Like anything, right? Like anything in life, you have your up and downs. Um, one last question before I let you go. What three things would you tell the audience today that they can start doing to either becoming a better entrepreneur or a better real estate?
What three things would I tell them to become a better entrepreneur
That could help them to become a better real estate or entrepreneur.
in real estate specifically? So,
Yeah.
what three things? First thing is I would know who you are. And when I say that, I mean, one of the first coaching lessons that we go through whenever people coach with me is we set up making sure that people have a vision, a mission statement, and values. And so you have to know who you are, what makes you unique, and why someone would want to buy a house with you. So, like, if you're doing the exact same thing that the next person is, like, what makes you unique? So like whenever if I said number one, I would tell someone know who they are and make sure that they're comfortable with that. Okay. So for me, I've already told you that my brand is built off of humor, education, and really guiding people through the process. And so I live it, I wear it, I represent it every day. So like I'm very comfortable with that aspect and I know where I want it to grow. Number one, that would be the first thing to do is know who you are and make sure to establish that. Number two is I would make sure to lean into your relationships and building value with you hear this all the time, sphere of influence, but more than that, just, kind of doing the right thing for people when you accidentally bump into them, so like pour into those relationships when you meet new people or when you are getting coffee at Starbucks or things like that, pour into those relationships and just deliver value. And if you practice delivering value, then I assure you that the people who find value in what you're giving will call and ask. So if somebody says, I'm painting my house. Oh, do you need a painter? I've got two. Well, I'm building, some new built-ins. Oh, do you need a carpenter? I've got three. Do you need to refinance your home? Like, how can I help? How can I help? That is ultimately like my biggest question I ask. And I'd say the last thing is this is kind of two-part. The last thing that I would do is I would find someone who's doing it like you want to do. And I say doing it like you want to do, who's growing or who's at the top from where you want to be. And I would call them, interview them, and I would ask them what three things that they did in order to get them to that place. But I would really push someone to say, who has grown the way that you plan to grow? Find out what they did and what they would do differently. Right. And then I'm gonna cheat here. I'm gonna give a fourth thing. The fourth thing that I would do is become an excellent question asker. If you can ask the best questions, you will win at everything. You will win at talking to agents. You'll win at negotiations. You'll win at talking with your clients. You'll win at talking to inspectors, to anybody in the business. If you can become a master of asking questions, you will open yourself up to opportunities you didn't even know. And you'll find that you'll win with more people by asking better questions. So like I would do those 4 things. I cheated.
No, that's actually fantastic. Thank you so much for over delivering. I love that. Thank you so much. Mm. And those are great tips for actually be successful. So thank you so much, Blake. Anything else? Any last thought that you want to tell our audience before we say goodbye?
Yes. I would say if you're struggling right now and you are thinking about giving up, don't give up. Okay. Keep your eyes forward, stay positive. The windshield is bigger than the rearview mirror for a reason. Keep your eyes forward, look forward, and when you have those things that knock you down, pick yourself back up and get out there. Because like your sale might just be a month away, and your string of sales might just be a few days away. So don't give up.
Thank you so much. Definitely, you have provided so much nuggets and great information that people can definitely take and implement in order to create new opportunities. So I say thank you to you for sharing your thoughts, your wisdom with my audience today, with everybody. And the doors of Be Fearless podcast are open whenever you want to come back.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
Listen, if you have
Thank you.
questions, feel free to reach out. I'm just, I'm a normal guy. Put my pants on one leg at a time. Like, give me a shout. You follow me on Instagram or send me a message. Happy to help.
Yes. So talking about Instagram, you guys, you can connect with Blake at Aloha Charleston on Instagram.
That's right.
And you can also go and check his website, alohacharleston.com. And I didn't put it in here, but I know you, what's the website for the coaching is
Resilientmindset.com.
mindset.com. So
Yeah.
resilientmindset.com.
And if you
So
want
make
to set up
sure.
a coaching, if you've never coached before and you want to set up a discovery coaching call, we do those for free where we talk with you about your own package and what coaching looks like for you.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So you heard them, guys. So you have to connect with them so you can get your coaching discovery call for free and see what packages are available that will fit your needs. And if you have anybody in the area of North Carolina, which that's where you are right now, right?
No, I'm in South Carolina.
South Carolina. You
Yep.
see, I'm always confused them. I don't know why. Maybe because South Carolina gives me better vibes.
That's North Carolina, right? North Carolina is the Bears. We're sweet tea and the ocean.
Well, that's yeah. Just give me sweet tea and sit me by the ocean. I'll be happy forever. So, you guys don't forget to reach out to Blake Sammons, and if you have any referrals, he's one of the best in the area. And yeah, just connect. Well, thank you so much, Blake, for your time. In the meantime, guys, thank you for another for supporting this podcast. I cannot be thankful enough and grateful enough. It's been a blessing for me. This is the 4th year that we are going live, bringing you success stories that can inspire you and into reach in just unlocking your potential and becoming the better version of yourself. So thank you so much for supporting Be Fearless Podcast. So don't forget to follow the podcast on social media here on Facebook, YouTube, Be Fearless Podcast, Twitter, Be Fearless Podcast, and also in every other platform of Audible podcasting. Just you can find us there. We are pretty much everywhere. Also, I want to tell you that if you have not picked up my recent publication, Hustle Hardy as Journal of Self-Discovery, is now available in Amazon. This is an amazing tool, you guys, if you want to create a new habit. It has 90 days, so it covers 90 days, and it has a bonus month for tracking. your goals and self-discover all the things that you can accomplish and do when you put your mind into it. So thank you again for another day with me. And in the meantime, don't forget to unlock your potential and be fearless. Until next one. Bye bye.